Tonight, Donald Trump's new tariff ultimatum to Canada on the opening night of his wife Melania's new documentary. The president pokes at the closer trade ties with China.
First thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed to play ice hockey anymore.
After the prime minister's message to Washington.
We expect the U.S. administration to respect Canadian sovereignty.
How revelations of secret talks in the U.S. Capitol with Alberta separatists dominated Mark Carney's discussion with the premiers.
There's an old-fashioned word for that, and that word is treason.
Questions about the future of GM's Oshawa, Ontario plant as the end draws closer for hundreds of workers.
We have a large portion of our membership that won't have a job come tomorrow morning at 6:30.
And Canada's hottest show comes to Ottawa. Rubbing elbows on the red carpet, and how the hit series also brought a moment of levity.
They want there to be a heated rivalry between Doug Ford and I, but we're on the same team.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. Breaking news tonight, and new threats from Donald Trump to put Montreal-based Bombardier in the line of fire in his trade war. Late tonight, the U.S. president saying that if Canada does not certify certain jets by Georgia-based Gulfstream immediately, he will charge Canada a 50% tariff on any and all aircraft sold into the United States. Bombardier just released a statement saying we have taken note of the post from the President of the United States to social media and are in contact with the Canadian government. Trump also fired shots at Canada at tonight's premiere of U.S. First Lady Melania's new documentary, insisting it's not a good idea to do business with China.
Canada's not doing well. They're doing very poorly. And you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well, but that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada. The first thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed to play ice hockey anymore. That's not good. Canada's not going to like that.
Now, all of this coming after the Prime Minister today urged the United States to respect Canadian sovereignty following reports Alberta separatists met with officials in Washington. A face-to-face BC's David Eby called, quote, treason at a high-stakes meeting in Ottawa between premiers and Mark Carney. There is lots to get to. Let's get started with CTV's Abigail Beeman.
Our country is more united, ambitious, and determined than it has been in decades.
Competing with that message of unity, separatism. With news, Alberta's movement has held multiple meetings with the Trump administration and is interested in $500 billion in credit.
To go to a foreign country and to ask for assistance in breaking up Canada, there's an old-fashioned word for that, and that word is treason.
It's ludicrous, right? I mean, we're there on a fact-finding basis. There's nothing treasonous about it.
The group says it's only doing a feasibility study
to determine whether that facility would be available on a going forward basis, and whether it's with U.S. Treasury or Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan through a bond issue or whatever.
The U.S. State Department said it regularly meets with civil society types and no commitments were made. A similar response from the White House, which tells CTV News no support or commitments were conveyed. But the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury has weighed in on separatism, too.
Alberta is a natural partner for the U.S.
I would expect that the U.S. administration would respect Canadian sovereignty and that they would confine their discussion about Alberta's democratic process to Albertans and to Canadians. And I will raise that with my delegate in Washington.
At the closing press conference, the Prime Minister would not answer whether he felt there was foreign interference from the United States.
I expect the U.S. administration to respect Canadian sovereignty. I'm always clear in my conversation with President Trump to that effect, and then move on to what we can do together.
While Canada faces separation speculation further east too, with the rise in popularity of Quebec's Parti Québécois.
God forbid he gets elected. I mark my words, within a year and a half, he'll be calling a referendum to separate from Canada. Unacceptable.
As for the substance of the meetings, a big focus was the upcoming review of the North American Free Trade Deal. The Prime Minister said he and the premiers agreed to meet monthly once that review is underway. Omar?
All right, Abigail, thank you. And joining me now is CTV's chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelos from Calgary, where the Conservative Convention is underway tonight. And Vassy, I want to ask you about that in just a moment, but let's start with the extraordinary revelation today that officials from a foreign entity, and in this case, the United States, met with Alberta's separatists. What are you hearing behind the scenes about the PMO's reaction, especially at a time when Mark Carney is trying to project a united image?
Well, from what I can garner from the conversations I'm having, Omar, they're very worried about the prospect, but they're also not completely surprised. And that reminded me of the fact that a number of months ago, Liberal MPs spoke to me about how during a caucus meeting that they had with the Prime Minister, he spoke very seriously about how significant he felt the potential threat of Alberta separatism was. So they're not entirely surprised, but they're on guard, certainly.
Let's get to the convention now, where Pierre Poilievre faces a critical test tomorrow with a leadership review vote. As we know, sometimes a simple majority just isn't enough. So what number does he need to unequivocally affirm his position as head of the party?
I think the bar is 70%, and even that is a low bar. I think if there's a 6 in front of that number or a 5 in front of that number, there's no unequivocal assuming of any position. Even in the 70s, he's going to have a tough slog ahead of him, but I imagine from the conversations I've had with people around him that if that's a 7, an 8, or a 9, he will tell the parties there that he's sticking around. Omar?
All right, Vassy, thank you. A tough night for people in Oshawa, Ontario. Tomorrow morning, the GM plant there will shut down its third shift, eliminating hundreds of jobs. Even though the cuts were expected, as CTV's John Venivalle-Rao tells us, it is still a big blow.
At this GM plant, the plunging temperatures outside match the mood of its workers feeling left out in the cold.
Feeling bad because you got bills to pay.
At the Oshawa plant, 500 full-time GM jobs are being cut, along with hundreds more in the supply chain.
I feel really bad. My son's losing his job. He was hired in 2022.
Back then, a third shift was added amid heavy demand for the Chevy Silverado trucks built here. That extra shift, though, is being eliminated on Friday. GM announced the change was coming 8 months ago, not long after the U.S. president brought in tariffs aimed at the auto sector. In a statement, GM confirmed Oshawa Assembly will return to 2 shifts of production, but adding it's also continuing preparations to build the next generation of gas-powered full-sized pickups, reinforcing Oshawa's future. Still, while GM says it's committed to staying, the union says some truck production is being shifted to this plant in Indiana.
It's devastating news. We have a large portion of our membership that won't have a job come tomorrow morning at 6:30.
It's just the latest blow after GM last year idled this plant in Ingersoll, Ontario, and Stellantis shut down a plant in Brampton. Hoping to give the sector a boost, Ottawa has agreed to potential future talks with South Korea that could include automaking. According to Hyundai and Kia, they sell annually around 250,000 vehicles in Canada, yet don't manufacture here. Still, some think a deal could draw the ire of the U.S. president.
Trump is coming after investments that are going anywhere other than the United States. So to announce a $3-4 billion investment in the Canadian market right now isn't exactly going to help the image in the United States, and it might put a target on your back south of the border.
Meanwhile, some at this GM plant are hoping the third shift could be reinstated if Ottawa reaches a trade deal with the U.S. John Venivalle-Rao, CTV News, Oshawa.
The stepfather of missing Nova Scotia children Lily and Jack Sullivan is now facing charges in an assault case involving an adult. Nova Scotia RCMP say Daniel Martel was arrested on Monday and charged with assault, sexual assault, and forcible confinement of an adult. Martel will appear in court again in March. Court documents reveal the victim was female, and the alleged incidents happened in December 2024, about 6 months before his stepchildren, 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan, disappeared. The siblings are still missing despite extensive search efforts. An Alberta man is facing charges tonight in the death of his common-law partner and the presumed death of her 9-month-old baby.
A woman and her child should be planning for tomorrow, not being mourned today.
The remains of 23-year-old Isla Egotik-Learn were found in an apartment near Edmonton last Friday. RCMP believe her infant daughter Braille is also dead, but her remains have yet to be found. 33-year-old William Beasley has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder and 2 counts of indignity to a body. Egotik-Learn is originally from Nunavut. Police believe she was killed in December. Her neighbors in shock.
She loved her baby so much, and she would always show me her, and she was always so proud.
A First Nation community in northern Quebec was sent into lockdown today in the wake of a double homicide. Police saying the shooting may have been linked to organized crime. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin has been tracking the story all day. Geneviève, what have you learned?
Yeah, Omar, the lockdown has now been lifted, but there were hours and hours of worry for the nearly 4,000 people of Mistissini. It all started at around 9 p.m. last night when the local police received calls of reported gunfire. They investigated and they found two men in their 30s dead in their car, riddled with bullets. The local chief then issued the lockdown notice, concerned about the situation in the community. People were asked to stay indoors, to lock their doors. Travel in and out of the community was banned, and many services were closed. The Quebec Police Force took over the investigation and sought to reassure the community, saying there was no active shooter. They believe that this could be linked to organized crime, saying these were targeted killings. And so the lockdown was lifted, although many people say they spent a sleepless night. Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Galmasti is the local MP. Here's what she had to say.
I was absolutely devastated to hear what is going on in my riding. My thoughts and prayers to all of them. We are waiting to hear more information. It is such a tough morning to wake up to.
Homicide investigators have been on the ground since this morning. So far, there have been no arrests. Omar.
All right, Geneviève, thank you. Tonight marks the 9th anniversary of the horrific mass shooting at a Quebec City mosque when a gunman ambushed worshippers during evening prayers and opened fire. Those who gathered at a vigil saying it was especially important to remember the act of hate at a time of rising Islamophobia in Canada.
We're doing it for our citizens, for the people who have experienced that pain, that's still experiencing that pain, and we want to repeat to every one of them that they are citizens of Quebec City. They are, I would say, total friends of ours.
In 2017, 6 people were killed by a gunman during evening prayers. The youngest victim, just 39. The oldest was 60. An Alberta First Nation is advising its band members to take precautions when crossing into the United States after a run-in with American authorities. The Blood Tribe First Nation is located in southern Alberta near Lethbridge. The band says it learned some of its members while crossing the Canada-U.S. border were stopped and detained by authorities, including ICE agents, and that treaty rights should provide them protection. The Blood Tribe is advising its members to carry extra documentation like a birth certificate if crossing the border. Donald Trump's border czar is on the ground in Minneapolis to head up immigration enforcement in the wake of 2 fatal shootings of U.S. citizens. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malvin now on his new plans for the city.
Thank you, please. Thank you.
It's rare for the president to not take questions, leaving it up to his border czar in Minneapolis to deal with the backlash.
Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book.
Tom Homan working with authorities hoping to calm tensions after weeks of violent clashes. And the fatal shootings of 2 American citizens, Renee Good, a mom, and Alex Preddy, a nurse. At a vigil where Preddy was killed, this is a city on edge.
I've been kind of vacillating between feeling kind of depressed and heartbroken and enraged.
Thousands of federal forces were deployed, vastly outnumbering local police. Homan says that from now on, their operations will be targeted, focused on criminal, undocumented immigrants. ICE agents will leave, Homan says, but not before the job's done.
So the drawdown is going to happen based on these agreements. But the drawdown can happen even more if the hateful rhetoric and the impediment and interference will stop.
He refused to talk about the killings. His new video appears to show Alex Preddy in a confrontation with federal agents 11 days before being fatally shot. His family says he wasn't a threat and did not deserve to die.
Do I expect the conduct to immediately change? That is my expectation. That is what we are insisting upon. But again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Protesters in Minneapolis are calling for a national shutdown on Friday. From walkouts, strikes, rallies, and boycotts, they're demanding ICE out of everywhere. Omar?
Joy Malvin in Washington. Joy, thank you. coming up.
If we get into a bad ice storm, we could easily run out of salt.
Which province is running low on an essential winter commodity? Parts of British Columbia's south coast are under a rainfall warning with 100 millimeters expected over the next 24 hours. Environment Canada says a warm front is expected to deliver heavy rain in areas around western Vancouver Island and Metro Vancouver. The systems could dump up to 90 millimeters by tomorrow afternoon and up to 200 millimeters by the end of the weekend. Well, this winter has already been a harsh one. Historic amounts of snow in some parts of Canada, and that's meant using a lot of salt, leading to a shortage in one province. Here's CTV's Adrian Gabriel.
Goderich, Ontario is home to the world's largest underground salt mine, and yet the province is grappling with a short supply.
If we get into a bad ice storm, we could easily run out of salt.
An essential commodity during the harsh Canadian winter, reserves are running low across multiple Ontario municipalities. The city of Pickering says its dwindling salt stock must be used carefully to help ensure supply lasts through the remainder of the winter.
The road salt shortage means that multiple private companies and municipalities are having to do this with their limited inventory. Take their road salt and mix it with sand to try and stretch out their supply.
Dave Giroux's large contracting company is facing the same issue as Ontario's municipalities.
What is your fear?
That we're going to run out of salt. We service hospitals, we service government buildings, we service airports, so we have contracts that have high liability.
Giroux believes we're experiencing supply chain issues, not a shortage.
It does seem odd that we have the biggest salt mine in the world and we can't get salt here.
Distributors are having to send trucks to the port in Montreal, where long lines are reported to pick up salt brought in from Egypt and Morocco. In Goderich this week, more than 100 empty trucks line the roads outside of the mine that has the capacity to produce 9 million tons of salt per year. It's owned by Compass Minerals, an American company, and large lake freighters are shipping Canadian salt from the mine to the United States, all while there's a reported shortage in Ontario.
I wish the government would intervene.
Good morning, everyone.
CTV News reached out to Ontario's Premier, whose office didn't respond by our deadline. A statement from Compass Minerals in part reads, "We remain committed to serving all our valued customers in Ontario and all markets that we serve."
Some commercial distributors believe that the supply chain issues being experienced this winter are so bad, they're forecasting a continued shortage into next year. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Bradford, Ontario.
Still ahead. What's stressing out Canadians more than housing costs? We'll tell you after the break. We have a new snapshot tonight on how the affordability crisis is hitting households hard. Here's CTV's Alex Carpa on which costs are stressing out Canadians the most.
Hard to make decisions.
A trip to the grocery store is not an easy one for Ben Nye.
It's really expensive here.
Soaring prices at checkout are forcing him to carefully consider what meals he can afford to make.
That's not bad. $4.99.
Being currently unemployed and searching for work has made it a struggle to pay the bills.
As a consumer, we're being hit hard, and it's being difficult for us to actually be able to afford anything anymore.
Nye has even resorted to selling many of his things just to cover costs.
It's difficult trying to make ends meet.
Like Ben, many are feeling the impacts of rising grocery prices. A new survey finds that the biggest concerns around costs for Canadians is right here at the grocery store. A new Nanos research poll for CTV News finds grocery prices worry Canadians more than housing costs as inflation continues to rise. More than half of Canadians say groceries are top of mind when looking to save money this year, followed by housing at almost 25% and healthcare at nearly 10%.
It speaks to the pressure that Canadians are under and how groceries are at the top of the list, significantly ahead of things like housing and healthcare and fuel and entertainment, all those things.
But experts warn that relief may not come anytime soon.
The story on tariffs are going to continue as we're trying to renew CUMSA with a very unfortunate negotiating opponent in the United States. Could be looking at, a bad year next year as well.
Let's try this.
As prices continue to climb with no end in sight, Nye says he will do whatever it takes just to stay afloat. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead, turning up the heat on the red carpet. Why the star of the hottest show on TV is rubbing shoulders with the Prime Minister. Manitoba's Premier poked fun at reporters raising questions over the Team Canada approach at today's First Ministers meeting, invoking a hit TV series.
They want there to be a heated rivalry between Doug Ford and I, but we're on the same team.
I want you to
we're going into the corners together.
I want you to just take that image.
For Team Canada.
The heated rivalry between Doug Ford and Wild Canoe.
Carney later joined one of the stars of Heated Rivalry at a special event in Ottawa, and CTV's Rachel Aiello was there.
The breakout Canadian star of Crave's original hit series Heated Rivalry was back on home ice today. Hudson, how are you feeling tonight?
Hold on, don't ask questions.
Hudson Williams hit the red carpet at a major media industry conference in his character Shane Hollander's hometown of Ottawa. Embracing the show's soft power. How's that for soft power?
Okay, this is soft. This is true soft power.
Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Congratulations on creating a story that has struck a chord with so many across this country, around the world. Because of you, cottage season will have a whole new meaning this summer.
He may not be the most sociable.
The drama about a pair of pro hockey players, rivals on the ice and out of their skates, secret lovers, is a Canadian production to its core. From most of the cast and the soundtrack to the product placement.
I think, we've set the bar very high, but we've shown to people that it is achievable.
In just 2 months, Heated Rivalry has become the most watched and rewatched original series produced by Crave, a subsidiary of Bell Media, which also owns CTV, with fans around the world celebrating the show for casting hockey and queer joy in new light.
It's just showing that because of the investment in culture, you get to have a heated rivalry. And without that, you probably wouldn't have it.
While those behind the show say they couldn't have imagined the response, they're ready to score their next homegrown hit.
We're going to continue to and elevate, making big, making bold, making authentic, not shying away from specific, not shying away from big C Canadian content.
Heated Rivalry has already been renewed, and as showrunner Jacob Tierney hinted to me tonight, Ottawa is set to be a central plotline in season 2. Omar?
All right, well, stay tuned. Rachel, thank you. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather Butts is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching, and good night.